Yes, Ms. Paul, I assume it's you today.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Chair, we are ready to proceed and present the evidence of Witness B. She is logged on. Witness B will be the second of 3 witnesses who will testify in the form set out in the amended ruling earlier this week. Chair, I've confirmed with Witness B she will be taking the oath.
Thank you. I think I'm the one in terms of terminology who misled you. I think both are oaths actually, but it's just that one swears and the other one affirms. So don't blame yourself, blame me from yesterday.
I wholeheartedly blame you.
Witness B, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Do you swear that the evidence you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Bowie.
Chair, Commissioners, to begin with, I'd like to confirm with Witness B the files that she has before her. Witness B, if you can confirm that you have 3 files in front of you, the first file being your statement.
That's correct.
The second file being the annexures.
That's right.
And the third file being the exhibit file. This is the Katiso bail bundle, which was marked CJC4.
That's correct.
Commissioners, you will have 2 additional files, and that is a set of exhibits. And in terms of the order, these should be marked CJC5. They are broken into 2 files, CJC 5.1 in one file and CJC 5.2 and 3 in another. Chair,
I've got file 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and CJC 5.2 and CJC 5.3. I think you mentioned something else. What is that?
That would be CJC4 from yesterday, the exhibit file.
4.
The Katiso bail bundle.
Okay.
My apologies, Commissioners.
But we'll probably get there much later, so...
Hopefully tomorrow.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Yes, Chair, just to say that the exhibit bundles, both CJC4 and CJC5, are going to be used by all 3 witnesses, so they're not attached to a single witness.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Bowie.
Witness A, if we can turn to the first file that has your statement.
It's in front of me.
Please confirm that this is a statement you have prepared for purposes of giving your testimony before this commission.
I confirm.
And if you turn to page 50 of the statement, please confirm that that is your signature at the end of that statement.
Yes, indeed it is.
Commissioners, having confirmed the statement, we will now proceed to deal with the contents thereof. For anonymity purposes, we don't propose to deal with much of the service history and part of the introduction. We'll focus on those parts that do not reveal Witness B's identity. Witness B, can you confirm the correctness of paragraph 1 of your statement?
That's correct.
And in paragraph 2 and 3 of your statement, you deal with the cases you're investigating, can you briefly take the Commission through these cases and the charges that are involved in these cases?
Yes. The charges, actual facts, I'll start by the case numbers. It's case number, paragraph and case number 275/4/2024. As I would say, it has its babies, of which it's Brandy, case number 149/4/2024, also Care Profile 77/4/2024, and Sunnyside case number 286/1/2024. And then the charges there of Permanent is murder, Claire Profile its possession of unlicensed firearm, Bramley its possession of unlicensed firearms and motor vehicle, Sunnyside its hijacking.
Thank you, Witness B. At paragraphs 4 to 6, you deal with your service history. Can you confirm the correctness of these paragraphs?
Yes, that is correct.
Witness B, at paragraph 7, you deal with the SWAT murder. And before you go into the murder investigation itself, you talk about complexities that you faced. Can you take the Commission briefly through these complexities and the unique challenges you faced?
Throughout my career, I've been dealing with the complex matters, mainly serious and violent crimes, of which it had its own challenges. But with this case, it has been a unique one. I think it has escalated to the extreme, and it has so many interferences, it had so many threats. Not that I never dealt with threats before, but in this instance it was so intense.
Thank you. Oh, you may continue.
Amongst other things that were unique, it was the docket itself. It has there's a lot of people who had an interest in those case, of which it was quite strange. And there was a lot of people who had, not the docket itself, maybe if I may put it like that, just the interest in the information, of which it was quite unique. Mainly not because there was an interest in the docket for the good of it, but mostly to the side of the suspect, of which it was quite strange. It was like, I don't know how to put it. There was something so special about the suspects that were involved in this one. Because as I have said, I've been dealing with so many serious crimes that some of them were to be published even in the newspapers and so on, but I never seen so much interest in those cases. But in this one, there was too much.
Can I just ask a question quickly? Witness B, this is Commissioner Khumalo here. When you say there was a lot of interest, was it interest coming from members of the public or from within the service? And at what levels, if it's within the service?
Thank you, Commissioner. It was from all spheres, from public to service to all kind of ranks.
Thank you, Commissioner Khumalo. Witness B, Witness A spoke in detail about the scene, but at paragraph 8, you deal with your initial attendance to the scenes on the 17th of April. Can you take the Commission through this?
Yes, Commissioners, as Witness A have indicated, yes, indeed, we attended the crime scene on the instruction of Brigadier Khopane. Initially, it was just myself and my colleagues, and then we were joined by 2 other colleagues. Yes, indeed, the scene was consisting of 4 crime scenes, of which we'll break it down by saying, mainly we were called to attend the scene at Bramley, whereby the suspects were arrested. And then those scenes, one of that scene, it was divided into 2, because there's where the suspect, when they come from Vereeniging using a different vehicle, went in, parked that vehicle there with some certain exhibits, and then they drove in a different vehicle to almost 2 streets away from that street where they were apprehended. So, and then the next one, it was at Ancient One-Stop Garage, it's Kleprefir area, and then the other one, it was at Vereeniging. As being called to the scene where people were apprehended, it worth it for us to be able to coordinate all these 4 scenes in order to get a picture of what is happening. Because as much as we were called at Bramley, the murder scene, actually, it was at Vereeniging where everything started. Because that's where Mr. Armand Swart was brutally killed. And then everything started from there when the CCTV footage from the company could identify the vehicles, they were circulated, and then subsequently they were arrested at Bramley. And then what bore Kleprefir 77, or as they were moving from Vereeniging to Joburg, and then one suspect got a puncture, and then he was forced now to stop at Engine Garage at Kleprefir, where he was subsequently arrested.
Thank you, Witness B. And at paragraph 10, you deal with the 3 suspects arrested. Can you explain that to the Commission?
Oh, yes. As I've said, we first attended the scene at Bramley, where we found 3 people contained at that point, of which we ought to interview each and every one. Subsequently, only 2 were detained. 1 was never detained, given the explanation and the connection to the crime. It didn't warrant him to be arrested. Therefore, the 3rd person that we talk about in this whole thing is the one that was arrested in Kleprefir, who was part of this crime that happened at Vereeniging. Let me first say what happened at Vereeniging. At Vereeniging, there was 2 cars that were there, of which one is an I-20, white I-20 Hyundai, that had 2 occupants who I would say they were shooters, because they were the ones that confronted Mr. Swart and brutally shot at him. And then there was the one that was scouting. But when you look at the video footage, you can see that these both cars, they are together, they're working together, and there's one portion where they signal to each other to show that they're working together.
Witness B, just before you continue, I just want to bring to the Commissioner's attention that Witness B has prepared a timeline which we will flight, which will make it easier for the Commissioners to follow the timeline. We will also be using other visual aids which will also be projected. These are covered extensively in the statement, but they're just an infographic representation of what she'll essentially be explaining. So we'll ask you to also have regard to the screens in front of you. Witness B, you were going to touch on the names of the 3 people who were arrested on the 17th. Yes,
the first 2 people that were arrested at Bramley, it was Michael Puletau, who is an ex-police detective at Johannesburg Detective Branch. And the second one, it's Musa Kekana. And then the third one who was arrested at Kleprepir, it's Floyd Diego Denny Mabusela.
Thank you. At paragraph 11, you deal with the roles that each of these individuals played. Can you explain this to the Commission?
Yes, as I've already indicated, these people were driving in two cars, of which in one of the cars it was two occupants. Two occupants, it was Musa Kekana and Bullet Dow. They were the ones that actually, the shooters. And in one of the other vehicle, it was Denny Diego Mabusela, of which his role, it was scouting.
And the one in which Mr. Tau and Mr. Kekana were in, is that the Hyundai?
That's correct, Commissioner. It was a Hyundai i20.
At paragraph 12, you deal with the summary of the evidence used to link the three accused persons. Can you take the Commission through that?
The evidence that was used, it comprises of different methods, if I put it like that. That will be including a video footage, and I've indicated that at QTech there was a video footage that gives us a glimpse of what happened there, and that actually helped the investigation by leading the police to know which vehicles that subsequently with that information they were arrested at Bramley through the information that was extracted from that video footage. Other than that, there is also witnesses that managed to take down the registration other than the footage, because in the footage you hardly see the registration, but with the help of the witnesses that were in the vicinity at the time, that quickly thought of taking down the registration and escalated to the police. It made it easier to be able to track these vehicles. And then other than that, there was a lot of investigation tools that were used, including cell phones. Hence, I believe that, I don't believe, I know for sure that Witness A has touched on the exhibits that were found shortly after an arrest. That amongst those, it was cell phones. And as much as I was busy with other things, I couldn't follow everything that he told the commissioners. But it's worth noting that during the preparation, this kind of murder, it was not just the hit and run one, it was well prepared. Amongst the preparation, it was that the suspect will leave their personal phone, record phone, to them at home, and then use what we call burner phones, the phone that is not easily traceable, that will be mainly used for the certain job and discarded. But the fact that all those phones were recovered during arrest, it helped a lot to link the suspects and the crimes, all four crime scenes, if I may put it like that. Other than cell phones, people, footages, there was also firearms. Hence, we know that at Vereeniging it was a brutal killing. Obviously, firearms were used, and then subsequently firearms recovered. That also helped in the linkages.
Sorry, Witness B, The video footage at QTech around 7 o'clock on the 17th of April 2024, does it actually show the shooting incident? Because as the Commission, we've only seen the still shots of the CCTV, but the video footage that you have watched, does it actually show the occupants of the Hyundai firing at Mr. Swart?
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, of course, it shows the shooting, but maybe if I should paint a picture, yes, you can see the occupants that there are two, but what you cannot see, it's their facials to be able to identify from there.
Thank you.
Witness B, you explain with reference to paragraph 13 that the exhibits that were found on the scene were taken for analysis. Can you take the Commission briefly through the types of analysis that you engaged with?
In terms of the cell phones were taken to cybercrime for downloading, and then there was also Section 205 in terms of the data extraction, and then when we get into firearms were also taken to ballistic for analysis. And then when I'm talking about the cell phones, well, with the Section 205, looking at the data, it was quite a quicker process, but when it comes to downloading, it took a little bit lengthier because of its dynamics and obtaining of the warrants and then the specifics to the people that are going to extract specific in terms of what the magistrate is looking for. So if I may put it like to say that one, it delays a little bit because you prepare a warrant. When you get to the magistrate, he might be taking you back to say rectify here and there. You go back, you rectify. You come back, the magistrate is satisfied. When you take the actual exhibits to cybercrime, they say, no, we don't want it like this, we want it like that. And then there was like those pulling in and out, because when you get to the magistrate, you might be saying, no, but I'm supposed to give the permission. They can't tell me how to do it. They must follow what I'm saying. So there was like those struggles of which they might have taken a month or two. That's why I'm saying it delayed the whole process. But in terms of Section 205, that was quicker. And with that only, without even having the downloads, we were able to have some linkages. We were able to identify certain people of interest.
Witness
And
B.
mainly we were able to place the accused in the crime scene.
Yes, Witness B, for the Commission's benefit, the Section 205 you just talked about is to obtain the call data. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And the firearms would have been sent for ballistic analysis.
That's right. Of which that was also not a lengthy process. It was just a quick one.
Thank you. The next topic.
Sorry, because there's mention of more than one place where ballistic testing was sought. Please mention the name of the first place you sent these to.
The first place, it was ballistic at Silverton. Maybe it's worth mentioning that the firearms after recovery were sold by a photographer, LCRC member, and then booked at Bramley SAPS. The very same member went to Bramley SAPS and booked those exhibits to the ballistic. Well, in that process, I was not the one, but was communicating with the member to ask him to take those firearms as quick as possible to the ballistic.
Witness B, can you just explain what LCRC is, just for our benefit?
LCRC is Local Criminal Record Center.
Thank you. You then start to deal with a different topic, and this relates to the accused's first appearance on the 19th of April. Can you take the commission through that?
Yes, I will be able to do that. On the 19th, it was the first appearance of the accused at court, and then there was few things that were noted that were unusual. Hence, I've said we've been at court like all our careers, but in this one, there was some unusual things that happened at court. Well, to mention the large numbers of the supporters of the suspects, maybe it's beside the point, but what happened thereof, maybe it worth mentioning. I would say amongst the troops that were there, what we've noted is that the interest, more than to be at court, it was on us. As much as we would identify people trying to take a video footage of us, and then some of the things were informed by the security at court, because they also noted some strange stuff. Like they came to me, they know me because I've been to that court in the past, and other matters they might be telling me that, hey, these people are trying to take your photo, but we've controlled it and everything. Some of the things that we didn't see, the security informed us about. And there's this one particular utterance that was uttered by a certain lady that I think it's also worth mentioning. She was like saying out loud, like more like bragging, and intentionally so, because we were close by. It's like, you know, when someone is trying to indirectly convey a message to you, but not really saying it to you, but knowing very well that you'll get the message. She said, Katie will make this thing disappear. Like, we didn't understand where does it come from and why is it necessary and why so loud and so bragging, why also next to us. And then after that, after the court, well, all that happened, we noted after the court, when we have to disperse now, I've noted that most of the people that were at court now, we were all out in front of the court, but we were standing like not far from each other, still briefing with each other. I was briefing with my colleagues. They were standing just there looking at us. And I've noted, and I told my colleagues to say, you know what, those people, I feel like they want to see which car are we going to ride in. I don't feel comfortable going to the car, because I was supposed to drive my car all alone, and I didn't feel comfortable about that. And then, but anyway, the team felt that we will stand here until when, if they don't move. If eventually they want to see that and they invested to see it, then they won't move until we move, and then we'll wait here until when. And then I asked one of my colleagues to come drive my car because I didn't feel good about it. And then indeed we drove in 3 different cars, and then witness B being the one at the back, I guess he touched on this, and then he noticed certain things, and then he contacted us about those, and then we stopped at the garage not far in the town there, and then we debriefed, and then we tried to say, let's now you keep driving, like not jumping into that car, because I cannot drive alone now. And then let's see if they're still following us. And then indeed, they keep on following us, of which it was noted they even tried to drive us off the road. And then amongst the cars, if I may make mention, at a later stage, we get to know who are they linked to. Not all of them, but one of the cars that were in the convoy that was following us, driving us off-road. When we're doing other duties where the suspects are concerned, we find it parked there in that house. So we started to recall to say, oh, but this car is one of those cars.
Witness B, I'm going to take you back just to ask, in high-profile matters, is it regular for the people in the gallery to have an interest in you, or was this something that was unusual?
It was very unusual. It was very unusual. People, they might become, support the suspect and all that, but not really to take interest on us.
And when you deal with the cars that followed you after the proceedings, you mentioned that one of the cars you spotted while you're doing investigations over there. You said a house over there. Are you at liberty to disclose where you saw some of these cars at a later stage?
Okay. Maybe I'm going to jump the miles now because with everything, the arrest on the 19th, there was bail applications, there was bail on new facts, and subsequently one of the accused got a bail on new facts, and he was given strict instruction to stay at home in Warawara. And then I was also tasked to time and again to go and check him, of which I didn't for the longest time. But on that one day when I decided to go and check him in his house, that's where I found the very same car that I'm talking about parking outside his house.
And just for clarity, the accused that you're referring to is?
It's Mr. Puletau.
And what car was this?
It was a RAV4.
And you say in your statement that after the cars pursued you on your way back from the first appearance, you went back and reported this. Can you take us through this?
Oh yes, we went back to the office and we reported those occurrences, of which subsequently we were advised to do some TRA, to fill in some forms in order for TRA to be conducted on us, of which we did. We did fill the forms. We submitted to the office of our Colonel Mkhwanazi. However, unfortunately, nothing really came forward for this effort.
At paragraph 19, you explain that at that stage you didn't fully appreciate the gravity of the case. Can you explain why?
As much as we have seen that we have been followed and all, at the back of our minds, it was like, okay, they're trying to intimidate us. We didn't know how deep it is, because even when we were confronted for the first time by the name KT, who's going to make this disappear, we didn't really at that point know who's KT, how is he connected to, how is he going to make this disappear, what powers does he hold to make this disappear. As much as we were aware that this has a potential danger, but the degree we didn't really understand it at the time.
And did this inform you not escalating this formally with your commander?
I wouldn't say we didn't escalate it formally. The fact that we went back, we went back and reports and the steps. It's not a small step to fill the TRA. It means we were saying, please look at this. There's a potential danger here. It's just that there's nothing that came forth out of it. Maybe to look at. Maybe we should have known about the dangers right there and there.
Thank you, Witness B. In your statement, you move on to the next topic, that is the phone analysis, and you take us through the two processes that are followed in this regard. Can you explain this to the Commission?
Oh, yes. We have, as I said, we first got a Section 205 for data. And then after that data that we've applied for came back, then there was another process to analyze it. And to through those analyses, there were linkages that we had out of that process alone, let alone the downloading. And then we have the second part that I said it took a little bit longer, of which now it's an actual downloading of the cell phones, where now we can be able to see the communications, the WhatsApps, the messages. But with the data, mostly we could see that there was phone calls from to, but we won't really see any messages, to be precise, mostly. But when we take to the other process where now we can follow, like even the messages, we can hear what was said to who, that's another process. That's why now I'm saying it's two. And that's why earlier on I said as early as in the process of data analysis, we're able now to link the suspects to the crime scenes. We're able now to link the extended people that I would call in people of interest. Now you can see now that this person has been contacted prior, during, or after the crimes are committed. Then that's why at the time we said it's a person of interest, because it was worth pursuing why.
Witness B, can you just clarify paragraph 21 of your statement? You say there, after seizing numerous mobile phones found at the scenes, does that include Vereniging, or are you only referring to Bramley and Q?
Oh, thanks, Commissioner. When I'm talking about cell phones, all cell phones, maybe it worth mentioning, all cell phones were, except one, they were recovered at Bramley where the arrest happened. All of them, except the one banner phone that was with Mabusela at Engine One store. And maybe I should make it a little bit more clearer, because maybe it might be confusing. As we've said that mostly they will leave their original cell phone at house. So what happened here is after they came back and they felt it was safe now, they were not arrested, the mission was accomplished. They took their original phones, got into the van with their original phone, including a banner phone. That's where all those phones were confiscated. And then also the one at Engine was also confiscated, but it was booked at Kleprekweer SAPS. But most of the phones, including Mabusela's original phone, it was also confiscated at Bramley.
Thank you.
Witness B, you mentioned the person of interest at paragraph 25. Will you share the name with the Commission?
Oh, at the time he was a person of interest because we could see the habits, we could see the trade, we could see that this person was very important into this case, because seemingly the calls were going to him during scouting, during and shortly after the murder. So this person later on, we found out that is Mr. Katiso Mlipe, who was subsequently later added in this matter.
Yes. Witness B, then at paragraph 26, you deal with how Mr. Molefe was then linked to the Swart murder. Can you take the commission through this process?
Oh, yes. Besides what I've already touched on by the cell phone data, and it goes a little further more because even the downloads, they still bring him closer to this case, not even closer, he's part of that. What I can say now, there's a date that I'm gonna mention. But maybe before I go to the date, let me first explain to the commissioners as to why are we here in the first place. This all started when the company at Transnet called SK Group was awarded with a tender. And then in this tender, it has been established that there was a lot of manipulation. First of all, that in the process of awarding that tender, there was two things that were very outstanding. Is to say in competition with this SK Group, there was two also more companies, of which it was Mountgate Trading and Striveforth. And then as investigation progresses, we learned that this Mountgate and Striveforth, they actually domained companies, meaning there was no competition in the first place for the SK.
Witness A, can you just stop for a second? Our apologies, Witness B. We were just having a technical difficulty. Can you explain the scheme again, the Transnet scheme?
Okay. Yes, it starts from a tender that was awarded to a group called SK. And then the SK group, the awarding process itself, it shows that there was a problem because the two competitors, it was Striveforth and Mountgate. When we do investigation, we can tell now that those two were just domained companies, meaning this SK didn't have any competition to start with. But I'll go back to SK itself. SK itself, it's connected to the person called Lucky Mlipe. Lucky Mlipe is the nephew to Katiso Mlipe. This SK group was awarded this tender, and then after it was awarded this tender, all we can tell it was a manipulation because of these two companies. Already Lucky Mlipe is the buyer, is the one who was facilitating this process. So already Lucky Mlipe knew that he's going to give it to SK because these ones were just there to make it look like, but it was not really the true reflection of the competition. There was no competition for SK. However, what makes this thing complex is that we have a company called QTech that has a relationship with Transnet for over 40 years. And it has been supplying Transnet with, they call it springs and accessories. I don't know the right word, but it's a small spring. I've seen it during the course of my investigation. That was supplied to Transnet straight from them as they are the manufacturers. However, in 2023, they were surprised because they learned now that there is this SK group coming to them to buy the very same spring that they normally supply to the Transnet. But in this instance, it looks like the tender was awarded to SK, and their first surprise, it was normally the tenders are advertised, and this one, it was never advertised. They were surprised to see that there was actually a tender by this SK coming to them to buy these springs. But it gets worse because now they sell these springs with legally like 3.95, but nothing more than 4 rand each. However, the SK group, when they submitted their purchase order to them, they were shocked to see they selling the very same spring that worth 3.95 to Transnet on the price of 151 rand. And then when the inspector to inspect the springs before they were released, they raised a concern to say, how are you aware, Transnet, that you're buying something that worth less than 4 rand with 151 rand? And then the inspector said, no, we're not aware, but I'm going to escalate to the managers, of which, according to the inspector, he didn't. But eventually, like, he got to know about the grief of the QTech. That's where the problem started now, because suddenly there was a new purchase order with now an amended price that was now 5.10 rand that was sent to QTech now. Now they've got 2 different prices with 2 purchase orders. Seeing what they've seen, they've decided now to report this matter. There's a whistleblower from the company that decided to report to the Department of Enterprise. And then that's where everything started. Then the department tasked the Transnet to have an investigation. Then investigation ensued, and then eventually, like, he was requested to finish the processes of the tender that was awarded to SK, of which he delayed. He delayed up until the 12th of April. That's where everything started to connect the dots to our case now, because the investigating officer from Transnet, he then now confronted him to say, I need those processes, papers. So, and then we see something happening now in this case. Exactly on the 12th, we see Tao driving to Katison Lipe's house, according to the data. And then also the tracker, the vehicle tracker. And then they both drive to QTech for the first time. They go scout there.
Witness B,
And that's
before you move on to that portion, perhaps to just point out to the commissioners that the scheme is described at paragraph 36.3 until 26.3 till 26.5. Witness
Do we have that graph that was displayed?
We can make it available.
So that we can insert it into our files.
Certainly.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Khumalo. Witness B, if you can then start at paragraph 26.6. This is now where you deal with the relationship between Mr. Lucky Molefe and Katiso Molefe and his, I guess, the request for assistance in this regard once the scheme was discovered?
Yes. This is now, as I've said, that on the top, that's when now the investigating officer from Transnet requested those documents from Lucky. And then okay, maybe
just to assist you, Witness B, this is where you start to deal with the communication and information from the cell phones, which shows you the communication between Mr. Molefe, Lucky Molefe, and Mr. Katiso Molefe, as well as Mr. Puletau.
the communication, it's mostly between Mr. Mlive and Tau, and then we then see them meeting like personally on the first time on the 12th. After like we learned that he was requested to bring the papers, but instead of like bringing the papers, we see action happening between Tau and Mlive. When they start now going to the very same Q-Tech to scout. And that you could see that from a data that Tau drove to Katiso's place, and then they were together picking up at the same tower at Katiso's place. Shortly, they didn't even take some time. Shortly, they both seen driving together to Bernachem at Q-Tech. And then from there, they go back to Katiso's house. Then Tau goes his way.
And does the scouting only happen on the 12th of April?
That was the beginning. That was the beginning of it. That's why I'm saying it was triggered by the investigating officer requesting these papers. Now it seemed to be urgent. Something needed to be done urgently. Otherwise, there was going to be problems. Because from the 12th, there was a scouting. The 13th, there was a scouting. The 14th, there was a scouting. The 15th, there was a scouting. The 16th, there was a scouting. Subsequently, Armand was killed on the 17th. But there's things that happened in between. We see Katiso sending a name and a number of the intended, supposedly they thought it was a whistleblower, but let me just say of the employee from the Q-Tech, he sent it to Tau. Tau started sharing this with her girlfriend named Lerato, asking her to search and find who is that person, of which Lerato indeed she searched until she find the intended target with his balls, and she sent it back to them, to Tau, let me not say it to them, send it back to Tau, send it back to Katiso, and they agreed that this should be him. And then the scouting continued, and then we could see there was a testing of vehicles and so forth. And in one of the days, we could see Tau's piano there up until the knock-off time where everybody will leave Q-Techs. I think they were trying to identify the target. And what is notable, after the 16th from scouting, they go back to Mlive again.
Thank you, Witness B. Commissioners, this is described in detail at para 26.8 and the sub-paragraphs thereafter.
Maybe just before you leave 26.8, Witness B, you say at one point Katiso Molefe sent details of employees of QTech to Mr. Tau.
That's correct, Commissioner. Yeah. That's when now he sent the cell phone number of the person that was intended to be shot, that was believed to be a whistleblower, and the name. I don't know if it's safe to call out the name of the victim.
No, Witness B, that's not necessary.
But it was not Mr. Swart, is that correct?
No, it was not Mr. Swart. It may be worth me mentioning that in all of this, unfortunately and sadly, Mr. Swart was never the intended target. It was a mistaken of identity.
I don't think we should get to who the actual whistleblower is. Let's leave it there for their own safety.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioners, just to cross-reference, this would be the annexures that Witness A went through yesterday with all of the stills. So that information is contained there.
Can we? Yes, it's what I was going to raise. Witness A gives dates of scouting, and I think she starts at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think it will be helpful that you cross-reference from yesterday's files, that you tell us the 12th is this exhibit that we looked at yesterday, the 13th is this, because to read this without reference to annexures will be very difficult when the witness is not here.
Commissioner Baloyi, we will do so. I'll just ask that once I get my file with Witness A's annexures, I'll do that exercise and give you the references.
I'm happy that you can even start with that tomorrow morning, if you need the rest of today and the evening to do that cross-referencing.
Thank you. Witness B, at paragraph 20.
Sorry, before you move off this, at paragraph 26.8.4, and perhaps Ms. Bowe, it still falls in the category of what I'm asking, what I've asked that you do for us. The witness says, on 12 April 1st, Mr. Tau is seen driving to Mr. Molefe's place, and then they both drive to the location for scouting. I don't recall, and the witness, you can remind us, I don't recall that we saw evidence that they were both in the vehicle. I do recall the evidence about the vehicles. The vehicle going to Mr. Molefe and then it leaving. Is there evidence that they were both in the vehicle? And perhaps when you do the exercise that I've asked for, you can try and locate that.
Commissioner Baloyi, I think Witness B will be of assistance. She referred to cell towers being used to show that they were both at that location.
Maybe let me direct the question to her. Let me do that.
Certainly.
Yes. Witness B, at 26.8.4, you say on the 12th, first Mr. Tau is seen driving to Mr. Molefe's place, and then they both drive to the location for scouting. How do you know that they were in that vehicle together to the location for scouting?
Commissioner, we know that through the call data. It's the call data that informs us that you can see from the Tau's call data and tracking reports driving to Mlife, and then from Mlife's house according to call data, they both driving, picking in same towers up until at Vernach Q-Tech, where they were scouting. Why I would refer to say they were driving together, I'm very much aware of the explanation that he gave during the bail, that he forgot the cell phone inside Dow's car. But I'm not convinced, commissioners, because in between he was making calls, let alone receiving calls. Receiving call, I will maybe give him a benefit of the doubt, because even Dow can answer. But making calls from your phone, that's extreme. And I know he was using iPhone, and I'm definitely sure that Dow wouldn't be able to access iPhone without him, because I know the security is in the iPhone. I'm using an iPhone.
Thank you, Witness B.
Thank you, Commissioner Paloy. Witness B, you wrap this section up at paragraph 26.9, where you talk to the motive. Can you explain this to the commissioners with reference to paragraph 26.9? Thank you.
Yes, the motive, yeah. Hence, I reference to the 12th. We say we see something common about the date, the 12th, because the 12th is when now, like, he was pressured to give the documents, and knowing that there was manipulation in this, and that would have costed him his job and everything that he worked for. And then instead he reached out to the uncle, and the uncle called out to the friend, and they both start scouting as immediately as the 12th, because the 12th is the genesis of why we are here now. And then
Oh, sorry, Witness B, what's your belief that Mr. Lucky Mulife ordered the hit based on?
It's based on this SK tender and the whistleblower, because, Commissioner, the actual person that was intended to be killed here is the whistleblower that was blowing the information in this SK tender thing. So unfortunately, we find Mr. Swart being killed, but not the person that was intended to be killed, because now it was creating problems for Lucky at work, now that the investigator was busy now needing to have these documents. And the same documents was going to reveal that these two companies that he said they were in competition with SK, they actually non-existent. And the SK itself, it has its own problems, because the investigation has revealed that even that it was a pawn in Lucky Mlife and Thapelo Mlife, who's the son to Katiso Mlife's pawn, because when the money was paid now, maybe I don't know if I'm going too forward, but when the money was paid now to this SK, what happens? It gets paid to SK account, but the whole amount is transferred to Thapelo Mlife's account, and Thapelo Mlife is the one paying people, including the so-called director of SK. He's getting as little as 30,000 out of 1.2. So now it tells you who are the mastermind of this SK group and this tender. And it gives you a clear picture why Mr. Mlife was interested and had to do something. Because he was protecting the interest of his own son and the nephew.
I understand about calls or other contact between some of the people alleged to be involved in the murder, that is before the murder, and even the report to Mr. Katiso Molefe after the murder that I think it said, Abuti, we are fine, something like that. So I would understand the basis for inferring or concluding that Mr. Kadiso Molefe could have ordered the hit. I'm not so sure that I get how you get to the conclusion or inference that Mr. Lucky Molefe could have ordered the hit. But I will leave it there. You have made your point.
Commissioner, can I add a little something on Molefe?
Yes.
Molefe, meaning Lucky. Lucky is the person who awarded this tender to SK Group. And Molefe is referred to as the buyer at Transnet. Definitely Molefe, Lucky is not the first time he buys these certain springs from for Transnet. And Molefe is at the liberty to look at the history in the system for the people who have been supplying them with the springs, of which, at the most, the people that maybe were expensive, they were not above 6 rand mostly. I'm not talking about where he facilitated, where other employees facilitated the process. The least is 6 rand. But in every tender where he was involved, it's 100 plus. So, what I'm trying to put out there is to say, Molefe, it's not only this tender that he awarded in this fashion. So opening an investigation for him, it was crucial because it was gonna expose not only this and others as well. That's why this whistleblower had to be taken care as quickly as possible before everything comes to light.
And perhaps Witness B, just to clarify with reference to the infographic, there's a dotted line next to Molefe on the right where you mentioned that further investigations have found other schemes. Can you explain that briefly?
That's correct. Unfortunately, that's it's still under investigation, but it's safe to say it's more than one. It could be 10, 15 or 3, but it's more than one.
Thank you, Witness B.
Sorry, Commissioner. One last information that I forgot to include where QTech is concerned. That's why it was so important to eliminate QTech. Is that on the system they've been having this relationship with Transnet for over 40 years. But when at the face value investigations were done, it was so strange that they were not appearing in the system. Somebody had deleted them so that it can never be seen.
Thank you, Witness B. The next section in your statement, you deal with ongoing signs of intimidation, threat, and interference. You explain at paragraph 28 what kept happening as you went to further appearances. Can you take the Commission through this?
Which paragraph am I dealing with now?
We are dealing with paragraph 28.
I'm trying to follow so that
Just to explain to the commissioners that the witness has a slight problem with her eyes, so we are trying our best for her not to read, so sometimes that's why we give cues. Yes. This is where you talk about some of your experience with the ongoing court appearances.
Oh, yes. That will be obviously
not ongoing signs of intimidation, threats, and interference.
Yes, Chair, that, but with reference to when they go to further appearances, that's the first line of paragraph 28.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yes, the following, it's worth noting that it was not for the first appearance only. It has been going on, and then people trying to take photo of us, it has now became a thing. But at least we had securities that they were aware now that they were looking at each and everyone who's trying to take our photos. They might become and explain to us that we stop certain individual trying to take your photos and everything. And there was this one individual who would always make a point that he come closer to us, and we know for sure that he's a friend to Mr. Tao, but we didn't understand why this guy would want to be closer to us, and we believe it was his way to identify us. Hence, at the later stage of the investigation, we learned that he was tasked by facilitating the elimination of us. So now that action, maybe somebody needed to see us and he would say, the ones that I would go closer to them, it's them, I don't know.
And at paragraph 29, you deal with some of the intelligence you were receiving. Can you tell the Commission about that?
Yes, and then this would be the information that will be deliberately delivered amongst the team to say, you have only, you, like us investigators, we only have two options. You only have an option to accept the bribe and do what those criminals want, or you die. Actually, the second one, it's not even an option. It's like that. It's either you do this or you will die. And then where the suspects were concerned, there was a time where a person was informing one of our members to say, now there's only three options. The suspect will escape, the suspect will kill you, or the suspect will buy his way out.
And based on...
So it was like these bribes were not coming in a form of like enticing you anymore. It was coming in a form of threatening you as well.
Let me understand the evidence on the bribes. Before today, I don't remember, I may have forgotten, but I don't remember that there ever was a categorical offer of a bribe. There was mention of envelopes, one envelope being for the prosecutor, another one for the investigators, plural, and another one, was it for the judicial officer? Yes, 3 envelopes. And my understanding was that witness A inferred from that this was an enticement to you, the investigators, to take a bribe on the basis that the reference to envelopes was reference to bribes. He never, if I'm correct, ever said that an offer was made. Here's a bribe. Take it. If you don't, B will happen. I may be incorrect.
Chair, that is correct. Witness B is referring to what informants that they work with would tell them. So not a express, but perhaps let's direct this to the witness to explain it. But it's more that this was outside of official channels. This was their informants informing them that you have these two options.
All right. Maybe let me just listen. I will hear what witness B says when they visit Pretoria. I will say nothing about who they were visiting in Pretoria.
Thank you, Chair. Witness B, do you want to comment on the information you are referring to from informants on bribes and the threats that you were facing?
Yes, I would like to comment. Commissioner, maybe just to put everyone on the picture of what was happening here. And yes, I understand we say informant, but this kind of informers, actually, let me say the one that was telling us that information, it was not somebody who would detach himself from the closeness of the suspects, if I may put it like that. He will put it in a way as if it's a message. It's a message from where the suspects they have interest or whatever. Is to say this is what is going to happen. This is what you should be doing, or else this is what is going to happen to you. And it went as far as at some point there was, even though there was never a direct approach to say, here's the bribe, you take it or you die or whatever. But there was the point whereby an amount was mentioned
Witness B,
through inform.
Witness B, can you please tell us under what circumstances this happened? Where were you when this was said to you? Where was the person who told you this? Were you in the presence of each other? Unless you are not willing to tell us who this person was, who was this person?
Can I not say who was the person, but I would say this information to me, it gets to me through the colleague, because this informer is directly reporting to the colleague. I was saying at some point, the very same informer told the colleague that the amount that was already paid to the investigators, let me say to me in particular, he said I was paid 1.2 meter. And this information comes shortly after Dow is granted bail. He said, you see, I told you that this person has been paid. Like he's speaking from the point of knowing, even knowing the amounts. And everything that he has warned my colleague about, it's happening. So it's easy to believe such person when he says tomorrow this person is going to get paid and the person gets paid. Now he tells my colleague that I've been paid 1.2. So he was supposed to believe even that. But unfortunately, he knows me better than that.
And are you also not willing to tell us who the colleague was?
I can't.
Chair, I'm going to have to protect the witness from you.
Sorry?
I'm going to have to protect the witness B from you for a little bit. And I think they will touch on the fact that sometimes referring to colleagues compromises them at the stations they work at. So they aren't able to reveal that.
Well, the witness must tell me that. The witness must tell me that I did not for 1 minute suggest that I was going to press. If for whatever reason the witness says they are not willing to divulge who the colleague is or was.
Thank you, Chair. Witness B, can you explain to the Chair why it is you are unwilling to divulge the name of even your colleague?
because it's gonna expose the identity.
I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Chair. Witness B, you explained that after the escalation or ongoing threats and intimidation, you took measures to protect yourself. Can you take the Commission through what measures you adopted?
This happens shortly. Most of our drastic decisions were taken by us after the release of Tau, as much as we were in danger before. But now that it was released, we knew that the danger has escalated.
Witness B, let me help you. We are at paragraph 29 of your statement, so we are not at Mr. Tau's release yet. This was when you stopped driving.
Oh, yes. No, what I did there, I was really afraid to drive the vehicle that was assigned to me, a state vehicle, because that vehicle I've been driving it since it was handed to first time I was driving that vehicle. So it was easy to track me on that vehicle. Therefore, I was afraid to drive it. Then I gave it to my colleague to drive it, and then I stopped completely to drive it.
And at paragraph 30, you refer to assistance that was given from a private security company. Can you explain this to the Commission?
Yes, this assistance happened shortly. As I'm saying, maybe I'll be too forward because some of these occurrences happened shortly after the Tau was released. Even me stopping driving the vehicle, that was exactly the time when I stopped driving that vehicle, and then we got assistance from the private security that was helping us during the course of investigation, giving us protection, because it was becoming so impossible now to do investigation out of fear, knowing that Tau is out there, and we learned that he already, while inside, tried to facilitate our assassination. Then now that he can do it himself, it was so difficult.
And at paragraph 32, you deal with the threat and risk assessment that you initially done. Can you explain this process?
Right. And then after this now, before we even go for this TRA, we first, maybe it's time now I start immediately after that was released what happened. That was Friday. On the following Saturday, we had to regroup, me and my colleagues, to
Okay, Witness B.
look at how.
Witness B, let me stop you because chronologically that happens a little later. So perhaps before we deal with the drastic steps that you took after Mr. Puletau's release, let's first deal with then the meeting with General Shibiri that happens in the 15th of May. So you deal with this at paragraph 34 of your statement. You start from the call you receive from Colonel Mkhwanazi. Can you take it from there?
Oh, yes. And then on this day, it was after hours. I was at home already. And then I received a call from Colonel Mkhwanazi, and then he told me that he was with General Shibiri and he handed over
Witness B?
Shibiri through General Mkhwanazi phone.
Witness B? Can we stop for a second? I think the connectivity is bad. Can you say something just so that we can hear that it's gotten better?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Please start again from the call that you received from Colonel Mokoena.
Yes, it was after I was home already. I received a call from Colonel Mkhwanazi, and then he told me he was with General Shibiri, and General Shibiri would like to talk to me. He then handed over the phone, and then I spoke to the general, and the general was basically asking me a question, trying to understand the whole case and the linkages and everything. Therefore, unfortunately, I was not in the liberty to do that. I feel so uncomfortable to do that over the phone because after realizing the people we're dealing with, that they were too sophisticated, so we're not really discussing any of the cases concerns over the phone. Therefore, I explained that to the general to say, I don't mind giving general the brief case, but I can't do it over the phone for this and that reason, of which he understood. He said, okay, cool, and then you can please come to my office so that you can give me this information on this case.
That is
which it happened.
that is the visit to Pretoria that I was referring to earlier.
Yes.
Witness B, in the reporting line or hierarchy, what is Colonel Mokoena in relation to you? Is he your direct superior?
That's he was my direct, and then he reporting to the brigadier reporting to the general.
Brigadier being who? The name of the brigadier to which Colonel Mokoena reported?
Brigadier Khopane, sorry.
And then Brigadier Khopane reported to which general?
General Khumalo. Because of many Khumalos, we will say General Mbuso Khumalo.
All right, thank you. I don't recall whether yesterday we got the name of Colonel Mokoena. His first name?
I know him as Colonel Mkhwanazi. I don't know his first name.
All right, we'll get it. I'm sure Ms. Bowe will help us at some point. Thank you, Witness B.
So, Witness B, you are not on first name basis. We can leave it at that for now.
Thank you, Commissioners. We are about to go into the content of the meeting, and I note slightly early, 3 minutes before tea. Perhaps, Chair, this is an opportune time to break.
Let's adjourn and resume at 1:15.
Chair, Commissioners, before the break, the witness was asked about the names of Colonel Mokoena. It's Isaac Ben Mokoena.
Thank you. And is the connectivity improved?
Yes,
You hope so.
we said before we left for tea, witness B, if you can confirm that your connectivity is improved by saying something.
I hope you hear me better now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, Commissioners, I'd also like to note, that in the service history, so paragraphs 4 to 6, we have referred to the witness's full service history, which is contained in the SAP 96. That's Annexure 1, W1, B1 of the annexures. And in another exchange, Chair, Witness B would like to address the short exchange you had with her regarding the colleague. So if we can just revisit that paragraph. Witness B?
I'm here. Commissioners, I think I was asked from the information stream where I was referring to in terms of the information where the bribes and the amounts were concerned, and I believe the commissioner asked specifically as to from which colleague where I got this information from. I would like to say it was from witness A in particular, as much as this information were coming in different streams, but that one in particular, it was from witness A.
Thank you, Witness B.
Thank you, Commissioners. We were dealing with the meeting that took place on the 16th of May with General Shibiri, that is at paragraph 35 of the witness's statement. Witness B, can you take the Commission through what happened on the 16th of May?
On the 16th of May, as per the call the previous night, we proceeded to, maybe I must note that it was at the early stage of this case, it was a hectic one, so we were busy. We only managed to get to Pretoria a little late towards a child time, towards 4. And then we had a brief meeting with the general. It was not really a formal meeting, if I may put it like that. It was more like a briefing that was not formal. In all essence, what I can say, evaluating from what was said in that meeting, mostly General, at first, he was giving us a layout to say he understands that the case that we're investigating is of a serious nature. He even referred to a case that he once investigated himself and his team of a late General Masangani, of which he also highlighted the challenges himself and the team that encountered, the dangers that they encountered. And then he eventually advised us that we need to look at TRA because that will provide a better security given the circumstances. And then he took us to the process of safe houses, and then like he was giving us a clean of what it entails and what it means, and then where it starts. We must first have a TRA, and then those measures may come, because he was talking from an experience, and then the conversation went on and on and on, and then eventually we were given a chance also to give a brief of the case that we're having. He further gave us also a more insight on this case in particular now to say, oh, well, this case is of a serious nature and your life may be really in danger because these people are connected to a figure called Mkhwanazi, of which at the time I didn't really know when one says Mkhwanazi, what does that mean? But that name was dropped, and then he furthermore tell us that those guys are of a great danger because they're not only limited to Mkhwanazis, they also working with some of the police officers from Tom's. There was a name there that in particular stood out. It was Velani Zungu. Who's working with them. Well, I don't know him. I still don't know him even now. And then there was also a conversation about that he knows who the attorneys that they are using. He knows how do they work, and then he further said that's when now this issue of envelopes come in. That he knows there's already 3 envelopes prepared, of which it had names on it to say one is for magistrate, prosecutor, and the IOs. So, well, it started now to me to take a different turn because that's not the conversation I would have with my superiors, especially the one at the general's level, let alone being a general at the national office. It started to feel otherwise for me. Apparently, I couldn't keep it in because I was in off place at that point of the time to say what possibly this could mean. And then I asked the general to say, oh, General, if now we're sitting here, you're telling us that as a general, you know of the police officers who are doing wrong, and you're telling us what has been done, because I don't think that's the kind of conversation we should be having. Well, there was no clear answer on that. It was like the inquiry, he took me through the steps that should be happening, not that are in place already or that I intended. So that was it. And then for me now to move from this uncomfortability that I was in at that time, I decided to take advantage and maybe serve it to help the investigation rather. I then make a request from the general to say, can you please assist me expediting the ballistic reports, because it was crucial for us to have that ballistic report, given the fact that we already expected to link the weapons found in Bramley back to the scene at Vereeniging. So that was a crucial point for us. Therefore, indeed, immediately he started making phone calls in assistance.
Witness B, before you move to the issue of ballistics and the assistance, what was your reaction to the talk of the 3 envelopes, and how did that conversation end?
My understanding, hence I've just indicated to the commission that for me it just became uncomfortable because I didn't think me and the general would have such conversation, because according to me it's wrong. Even if maybe the general knows of that, he can't tell me as a junior about it. Yes. And reading the room and the whole situation, and with everything that I know now. But at that moment, it was just uncomfortable, and I read it as if this is the kind of enticement. Because if you tell me about the monies that are there in relation to the case that I'm investigating, and amongst the people that are supposed to get the envelope, it's the investigating officers. What are you trying to say?
Witness B, the slide that we are looking at says the meeting with General Shibiri was on the 16th of September, and yet your statement says, 16th of May, I beg your pardon, and your statement says the 15th of May. Which is the correct date?
Commissioner.
The 15th of May, it's when I received the call.
Yes.
Your Commissioner. The
I beg your
visitation,
pardon.
it was actually on the 16th.
All right, my mistake. I beg your pardon. Secondly, the slide speaks of a JMPD officer confirmed to have tested plates for the matter, and sent to KT. What is that all about? It's to summarize, to understand.
That information comes from a different information. I think me putting it in my statement in that sentence, it will need to be rectified. He never really spoke about it. It's from a different stream of information, but not General Shibiri.
So it is a mistake that it is recorded as if it was a discussion with General Shibiri at that meeting.
Yes.
All right.
That, and also the one for somebody in Johannesburg Central, those, they don't fit in this meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Witness B. You explained that after the meeting, on reflection, you drew a conclusion about why General Shibiri called you to that meeting. Can you explain to the Commission what that was?
Yes, from our own reflection, all we could conclude is to say he just needed to find out the progress of the case as to how is the accused linked, and then how strong is the case against the accused, of which, well, after this meeting, he indeed gave me a call again, follow-up call, to ask me the things like the linkages in terms of DNA, in terms of primary residues. So it was like, to me, okay, this was all about that.
Witness B, if you could just allow me to take you back a bit. It's a question that I had wanted to ask and forgot somehow. Earlier in your paragraph 33, this is where you are discussing the TRA that you requested right at the beginning. And you say you filed a form and submitted it to Colonel Mkhwanazi's office. You remember that? Where you then...
I do.
You remember that? Now, you conclude that paragraph 33 by saying, unfortunately, nothing ever came of that process. Did you make inquiries, or did you come to understand why that request was not met? Nothing happened.
No, Commissioner, we really never make a follow-up on that, but as when things started escalating, there was another TRA, but we didn't really follow it up to say why nothing came out of this, and where does it got stuck and everything. No, we didn't. But there's something about it that struck me, because shortly after we filled this form. The very same information from the stream of from witness A, he charged on this, of which it was so strange to say there's nothing coming forth out of this, but he seems to know something about this TRA because he made a comment to witness B to say, oh, these days I understand you are belonging to General Kalakala, knowing that General Kalakala's office will be the one handling the TRA. It struck me to say, how did he know? Because even inside here home, we don't get any feedback, but he seems to know.
So, if just to make sure I understand, are you saying that after you submitted the TRA, an informant came to know about it?
I don't know if he knew about it physically. He knew that there's a process of us escalating things to General Kalakala.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bond.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloyi. In your statement, Witness B, you move on to talk about how you proceeded to move after the meeting with General Shibiri and that you exercised caution. Can you explain this to the Commission?
Can you please direct me to the paragraph, maybe to the one on the same page?
This is at paragraph 40 of your statement.
Oh yes, this is where now we took measures about the case itself as to how to treat it, as to who do we communicate with in terms of this case. And besides that, we were also instructed by Brigadier Khupane after she learned that we already had a meeting with the general without her knowledge. Then there was a strict instruction that she gave to us to say, this case is too sensitive. Therefore, I would appreciate if you only give progress to me or to General Khumalo. Those were the only two people that were supposed to share any information where this case is concerned, because even in the group chat, we never really said anything where this case is concerned.
Thank you, Witness B. In your statement, you then move on to the ballistics investigation. And at paragraph 41, you begin with the call that you received from Colonel Mokoena telling you about a telephone call from General Shibiri. Can you take the Commission through that call?
Yes. I don't remember the exact dates, but it was between May and July and June, actually, early June. I received a call again from my Colonel Mkhwanazi. He informed me that General Shibiri has called. He said that the report is ready, I can collect. And then I went to ballistic together with other colleagues. I didn't go alone. And then we went there. On our arrival, we went to the office where the report is supposed to be handed, because there's a specific office. When we got there, we were told that we should wait. The
Witness B, did you move away a little bit from the computer?
Your voice is fading, Witness B.
Can I try again?
Try again and just a little louder.
Okay. Between end of May and
Witness B, can you hold on 1 second? Did you make any movements to where you were sitting?
no.
Oh no, it sounds better now. If you can proceed to your arrival and going to the collection office at the ballistic section.
Yes. I received a call again from General Mkhwanazi, telling me that the general has called, telling me that the report is ready, I can go and collect. Indeed, I proceeded to the ballistic together with my 2 other colleagues, and then on our arrival, we went to the office where they issue the reports, only to find that they said no, the report is not with them, we must wait for the analyst, of which he came, and then he told us no, there's a mistake on the report, and then he needs to rectify it. Then he took us to his office.
Witness B,
Where
before you move on to what happened at his office, do you want to identify the officer you were dealing with?
yes, at the time that was Warrant Officer Mahotlo, but currently it's Captain.
Thank you. And what happened when he took you to
How
his
do you
office?
spell that for the transcript?
Can you please spell that for the transcript?
It's M-A, what? It's G-O-T-L-O-E.
It appears here.
That's KG.
Yes.
It's M-A-K-G-O-T-L-O-E.
Thank you, Witness B. So you proceeded to his office?
Yes, we proceeded to his office, where in his office he was not alone, he was with another warrant officer. I just can't remember his surname, but as we talked there, I learned that he's the same person that they attended the scene with at Vereeniging. So they started working now on the what was so-called rectification of the reports.
Witness B, just to clarify, the report that he said needed rectification, did he ever tell you what the rectification was that was necessary?
No, unfortunately, we were never privy to that information. And what we saw, it looked like the report had to be started all over afresh because of the time that it took to rectify. It took us almost an hour, if not more. Given the fact that they were working on it, both of them.
And in your experience, is this normal?
No, well, that's first time in everything. In my experience, it was for the first time to have that, because sometimes we'll be the one identifying maybe mistakes and we go back and it's a matter of a minute or 20 minutes, and then they rectify just that and then we good. Or else they might be saying it's fine, we'll rectify, and then you'll get it from the ICDMS. This one, it was for the first time, given the fact that the reason why we visited it because of we were informed of the readiness of the reports.
And at paragraph 43, you explain that during this process of rectification, Captain Makhotle started to tell you information. Can you take us through that?
Yes, we had a very interesting conversation there in terms of why I'm saying it's interesting, because for me as an IO, there's nothing interests me like linking the cases through whatever investigation tool. So one of the things that were said there, they excited us to say, okay, we have more to on maybe, because maybe I should note to the commission that in the investigation we not only rely to those investigation tools like ballistic phones, blah, 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 blah. We also rely on information. It's worth noting that we already had information on certain scenes. As soon as the suspects were arrested, some people, they started giving information to say, look at that in this case, these people were involved there. That's what piqued our interest. And then when we have this conversation, it was like, okay, the informers, they were not lying. There's something here. So we had the conversation where we were warned to say you need to be very careful when you deal with these cases. They are of high profile nature, and it's extremely dangerous to work on because it involves people in high places. Well, at some point, because I always, when I get puzzled, I asked. I did ask. That's how I became to know that they were at the scene, both of them, because I said, you seem to know too much as an analyst, and you seem to know more than myself as an IO, as an analyst, where this case is concerned. And he said, no, I was at the scene. People were talking. Then, well, I understood that. I know when you are at the scene, you get to hear all this sort of information, because indeed people, they do talk.
Is the scene now the scene in Vereeniging or Bramley?
In Vereeniging, Commissioner.
Thank you.
But now, it's the part that I said it's interesting. Now he started to be specific to say these cases are linked to high profile. I noted, okay, high profile, meaning now you have an insight. This is not just anyone can say this. And he also mentioned that they also involved in the CITs, and like it piqued my interest. And as they were working on the reports, and it took this long, at the back of my mind, without even asking, it was like, okay, they dealing with all this information that they're telling us about, only to find when we're done and the report is handed, like the mood was okay, that the conversation was flowing. There was no reason for us to even suspect that we won't find what we are told about in the reports. It was like we're talking about something that is there in that report, only to find that when we get to the car, one of our colleagues decided to look at the reports, and the discoveries was, hey, what were those people were talking about? Because there's none of those in this report except the linkage between Vereeniging and Bramley, of which we anticipated, because from the initial investigation it was expected. It was just to confirm. There was nothing wow about that.
Witness B.
I thought maybe he's failing to read. Sorry?
Witness B, just before you go past this, you mentioned that they said the weapons were linked to CITs. Can you explain what that is?
Oh, that would be cash in transit.
Okay, and based on this information of high-profile cases and the likes, what were you expecting to see in the report?
I was expecting to see the linkages of the cases of CITs as stipulated, the cases where high-profile people were involved, as like alluded, but there was none of that. It was like limited exactly to what we already anticipated, and we were like having it at the back of our minds that the chances are these firearms are going to come back and say they are the ones that shot at Vereeniging, given the period of incident and when the people they were arrested. It was not really hard to think that is a possibility.